Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Lure Fishing Project. Today's episode is just a little bit different. While Joel Crosbie is well known as one of Australia's top kayak bream anglers, this conversation is about another one of his passions, Murray cod. If you've ever thought about giving cod fishing a try but didn't know where to start, then probably this episode is for you. We keep things simple, covering 3 lures Joel would recommend first, the tackle he uses, where to fish them, and the lessons he's learnt during years of chasing the Australia's iconic freshwater predator. Whether you're looking to catch your very first cod or just curious about another style of lure fishing, I think you'll get plenty from this one. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Lure Fishing Project, where Australia's best lure anglers share their tips and stories to help you catch more fish and have more fun on the water. Here's your host, Andrew Deeth.
Okay, so now I'd like to welcome for the first time to the Lure Fishing Project, Mr. Joel Crosbie.
Hey, Deethy, how you going?
I'm good, mate. It doesn't feel like the first time, but it is.
Yeah, first time in this area. It's a different area, slightly different area for you now, and I only ever come on here talking about bream with you, so this is a little bit different, I guess.
100%. As a bream champion, you've been on here a bunch of times, but now we're into something slightly different, something a little bit left field.
Yeah, something that I did spend a lot of my time doing. I took a break from the bream comps and I spent a good amount of time and money, chasing the famous Australian native Murray cod.
Well, there you go. What we might do, Joel, is just run back through a little bit. So in terms of your fishing, let's just run back through the competition bream stuff. Tell us a little bit about what you've done and where you've been, because there's a good list there.
So I started the bream comps back in, I can't remember. I think we worked it out. It was like 2010 or 2011. And basically, it was the first season the Hobie comp started. That was also the New South Wales, Queensland based. And then the following season, they opened it up to Victoria and stuff like that. And that's when I started in Victoria, the Bem and Marlow comps. And I was fortunate enough to win Marlow the first year we were there. Yeah, awesome. And then from there, I obviously got addicted to it and fished it for a good 6 or 7 years. I was lucky enough to make the Hobie Worlds team at one stage. I think that was 2015. The first China World Championship. Made the team there, went all the way to China, didn't catch a fish for 4 days. So that was a bit of a battle, but amazing time. And funny enough, it wasn't long after that, probably about 18 months after that, I took a bit of a back step away from the bream comps. That was mostly personal, was going through a divorce and stuff like that. So had to focus on other things. And then in that time, I discovered cod fishing. And for a good 5 or 6 years, there was nothing but cod fishing. And especially given that I was a newly single man, I was spending a lot of money. All my spare cash was going into cod lures, cod gear, cod everything. And so I hit it. That was all I did for 5 or 6 years, was just cod fishing.
Right. And just to throw one more thing in about the bream fishing, is you were one of the guys in terms of preparation. There's a few of you on the circuit that do a lot of preparation leading into a comp. Like you, research. So I'm going to assume that you did the same thing with cod. You probably went mental over it.
Absolutely. I watched every single cod video I could find. I think I even bought a couple of DVDs as well at one stage. Yeah. Lots of Google mapping. I was very fortunate to spend a fair bit of time with Chris Burbage at that stage. And he's an amazing cod fisherman. Yeah, he knows them back the front, inside out. So I was able to glean a lot of information from him, which sort of, I suspect, fast-tracked my learning for cod fishing. Yeah, so I'd be fishing with him on days and just watch and learn, see how he did things. And I got a lot of information from him. And then, the rest of the time I was just researching and was fortunate to spend a fair bit of time on the water as well.
Yeah, okay. All right. Let's go through the journey. Was there a moment or a fish that really put cod fishing on the map for you and got you really into it, where you just went from, it'd be nice to catch one, to this is all I'm going to do?
So the first time I actually went cod fishing, it was the second time. The first time I went cod fishing was trolling a lure out of a tinny in one of the New South Wales dams with an old friend of the family, which I wasn't really into trolling. So we did catch a cod, but that was my first foray into it. But my first sort of serious foray into it was we entered a competition. It was called the Mulwala Classic. It doesn't happen anymore, but it was an invitation-only one. And we convinced the organisers to enter the kayaks into it.
Okay.
And I hadn't casted a bait caster before that weekend. Like I said, had hardly any idea about cod fishing, and I spent the next 4 days cod fishing, casting bait casters. I had to learn how to cast them pretty quick, and that's where it began. And then there wasn't any one particular moment that sort of fueled that love of the fishing for them. I think it was a build up over time, and then we discussed before we started this interview, there's one particular incident. There's actually two particular incidents that happened at Lake Mulwala. I was fishing by myself, had casted this snag, hooked up to a very big fish, and at that time I hadn't caught a metre fish before, which is obviously a benchmark for cod fishing. Hadn't caught a metre before, and hooked up to this fish, and you could tell it was a huge fish. And I had it on for a good 15 minutes, and it was dragging me all over the place. Didn't actually see it, and eventually it busted me off.
Right.
And then 18 months later, I went back to that exact same snag, cast the exact same lure, which was a spinner bait, exact same colour, weight, everything, cast back this snag, hooked it up again.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the same fish, absolute chaos again. This time I got to see its tail, and that was the only thing I saw, and it busted him off again.
Wow.
And since then I've caught multiple fish over a metre, a couple over 120, and no fish has ever fought like that fish has fought. And that's when the addiction really kicked in.
Wow. Okay. I can't wait to get into that. Like 120 is such a big fish.
And that's the thing. That's the addiction with cod fishing. You get a whack, and a metre 20 fish will hit the same as and sometimes a small, like a 30 centimetre fish will hit actually harder than the big fish. So you just don't know what's coming.
Yeah. Okay. So you're basically kayak angling at the moment?
Yep, kayak. I spent a few days in the boat, usually with Chris Burbage, but most of my time and most of my fishing's at Lake Mulwala.
Yep.
So most of my time is in the kayak, and especially at a place like Mulwala, the kayak's a perfect vessel because of the amount of timber in that waterway. There's some areas that boats physically can't get into, but the kayak can.
Yep.
So there's always places in the kayak that you can go where you're almost guaranteed that a boat hasn't been in there for a while. So you can explore places that boats can't get to. So it just makes Mulwala more accessible in a kayak.
Okay. And what kayak are you fishing out at the moment?
Just the Pro Angler PA14, the Hobie.
Yep.
Yeah, just the standard ones with the 180 fins. Nothing. I haven't got the 360, although I think the 360 would be perfect in there just for maneuverability around the snags and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the PA is perfect. I can carry a heap of gear with me. It's stable enough that I can land a big fish if I need to. Yeah, just the perfect vessel, really.
Okay, and have you got kick ups on that?
Yes, yeah, for sure. Especially at somewhere like Lake Mulwala, the kick ups are they're non-negotiable. Back in the olden days, we'd have the standard fins, and we used to break lots of fins at Mulwala because it's just the sheer amount of timber in the joint's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to go through some beginner type stuff, and we might start with your favorite lures because you got to start with a lure, and you've been doing it for a while, so you would have narrowed this down from probably a few hundred lures, and we're going to bring it back to 3.
Look, yes, I've narrowed it down to 3, but you've seen the amount of gear I take with me, even to a bream comp. You can probably times that by about 10 for cod fishing because the thing with cod is you don't know what they're going to eat on the day, even more so than bream.
Right.
They can be incredibly fussy, and other times they'll just eat everything. I always take every single lure I have with me, which thankfully I have the PA, so I've got plenty of room to take it all with me.
That's right.
But yeah, and look, I am by no means an expert on cod fishing. There is plenty more people that know plenty more about it than me. But for me, probably the first basic lure you choose is a spinnerbait.
Okay.
You can fish that anywhere, pretty much in all depths. Like you can throw a lighter one and burn it just under the surface. You can fish in 10 metres of water and let it sink all the way to the bottom and then roll it back. Yeah, the spinnerbait's certainly the most versatile lure to throw. especially for a beginner, relatively snag proof. And for some reason, the cod just keep eating them too.
Okay.
So, and my whaler, my favourite is a 5/8 Bassman ounce spinnerbait.
Yep.
So a little bit heavier, easy to cast. And I prefer a couple of big Colorado blades on it. So they're the big round blades. Yep. And usually they have a soft plastic on them. Sometimes not. Depends that doesn't matter. I get ones straight from the packet that have a soft plastic already rigged. So I use those. And my favourite colour is white and chartreuse.
White and chartreuse. Okay.
Yeah. Like to the point where I went into my local tackle shop when I found out they were stock Bassman and ordered 10, and they didn't believe me when I said I wanted 10 of that size and colour. So that's that, and that's that lure that I threw at that big cod that I got busted off by twice was that exact same lure. Right. And I think I caught 2 or 3 meters on it as well, and multiple. And the good thing about the spinnerbait is I'm catching 25 centimetre cod up to 120 centimetre cod. It's versatile, but it still catches them.
Yeah, very good. Okay, let's talk about a couple of scenarios that you'd use that in without knowing. I'm thinking about throwing that into structure, but what about yourself?
Yeah, and so my whaler with a sheer amount of timber there, most of the time you're fishing structure. I haven't got live scope or anything like that, so I'm still fishing relatively blind compared to most of the guys now. But I also like the excitement and the surprise of getting a whack when you don't know that's coming. But I'll look for structure, find the structure, cast the lure as close as I can to the structure. And depending on the day, sometimes you need to let it sink all the way to the bottom and then drag it back slowly. Other times, within a second of it hitting the water, you're winding it back pretty quickly. Yeah, you've got to, at the start of the day, you've got to work out where those fish are in relation to the structure. And sometimes I'm fishing upright timber, other times I'm fishing lay down. When you're fishing lay downs, it's a bit easier because obviously once it's beside the structure, you can wind it in. When you're fishing an upright stump or tree, sometimes you have to guess what part of that tree they're sitting on the way down as to when you start your retrieve.
Yeah. Okay. So if you say you are casting at a vertical tree, are you basically casting it same as you would for a bream, close as you can to the tree, open the bail arm or peel some line off and try to get it to sink straight down that tree?
Usually I'm casting past a tree.
Yep.
I'll cast 3 or 4 meters past the tree. That way then I don't have to worry about letting line out or anything like that. I can I'm always throwing bait casters, so I just close the reel and let the lure sink down. Like I said, depending on where I feel like they are that day. Usually it's true. At my whaler, I'm fishing 1.8 meters or less, less than 2 meters most of the time. That's where I feel comfortable fishing. So in my mind, it's only probably sinking for a second or two, and I'm restarting that retrieve.
Yeah.
Because with the amount of noise and flash, especially the spinnerbait makes, it doesn't matter whether they're sitting on the bottom or just underneath the surface. They're going to see and feel that lure and see that lure come past. But I try to 99% of the time I'll cast past the structure and then bring it back through
and crank it back.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll hit the tree, which is sometimes an accident, sometimes not, and that sometimes gets your attention as well.
Yeah, right.
And I think with the white and chartreuse, I think it's like a baby cockatoo or something falling out of a tree.
Okay,
that's our theory. So 99% of the time, cast past the tree, bring it back.
Maybe you need a baby cockatoo lure.
Oh, I think you can get them.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think there's surface lures that look exactly like a baby cockatoo. So
wow, makes sense. All right, let's talk about the bite. Okay, you throw your spinnerbait out, you cast it past your vertical structure, and then you start to crank it back. Tell me about some of the bites. What are you going to feel?
It's usually when you've had a hit.
Okay.
Like a couple of times I haven't been holding the rod right, it's nearly been ripped out of my hands. And the other thing that makes Murray cod so addictive is if they hit it and miss, 9 times out of 10 you can cast back in and you'll get at least another hit.
Yeah, right.
Or 2 hits. Sometimes I've had fish come back 6 or 7 times before I can actually get a hook up.
Yeah.
And then other times, like there was one incident where I was fishing with my best mate, Clark Wilson, and he'd hooked up to a fish and it was early in the morning. This wasn't a spinnerbait. It was just we were still fishing surface lures. And I had he'd caught a fish, so I was pedaling over to take a photo for him. I'd sat my surface lure down, like I'd put my rod down with my surface lure still attached, stuck it down beside me in the kayak. And so the lure was in the water next to the kayak, like right next to my feet, right next to the pedals in the water, actually. So it was, and the speed I was pedaling was actually working the lure next to the kayak. A kite actually came up and hit it right beside the kayak, like next to the pedals under the, so that it would have come past the pedals to hit this lure.
Wow.
So, yeah, they're just crazy. They'll hit and they keep coming back and they're just angry, and that's why they're so addictive.
Right. Wow, that must have scared you something crazy. You're not ready.
It does. Even, and we spend a lot of time in the middle of the night fishing surface lures and stuff like that. Even when you're expecting that hit, it still scares the crap out of you every single time.
Yeah.
Just the sheer violence of it. And it's just, there was one time I was fishing next to Chris Burbage and it was just on daylight. And it sounded like someone had thrown a fridge in the water.
Yeah, right.
Like the explosion was that big, and I turned around and said, "Did you fall in?" He goes, "No, that was a kite." And I'm like, "Holy moly, that was ridiculous."
Wow.
So, yeah, they're just, yeah. That's the thing about cod fishing. It's all about the hits.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And when you catch one of these cods, say you get something big, something 80, 90 a meter, what's the fight like? Do they tire? Like a bream tires out pretty much, but a trevally doesn't?
9 times out of 10, yes. But that fish that I interacted with twice, he was she or she was the complete opposite.
Right.
Like I said, that one never gave up, and it felt completely different to every other one. Some of the bigger ones they'll still fight, and they'll still put a good account of themselves in.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, it's all about the hit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The one that got away there that you've caught hooked twice, has it got a name?
No, it got called lots of names both times, but no, nothing that I can repeat on the podcast.
I think we need to find a name for it.
Funny enough, I've been back a few times over the last few years, and someone must have caught it, I reckon, because it hasn't been there. And when I say caught it, sometimes I'll catch it and maybe release it a few hundred meters away, so it's set up somewhere else.
Sure.
But yeah, it was. Yeah, I haven't been able to find it again since.
Okay, I spin a blade. I think you said Colorado rigs, 1/8 white chartreuse. And if you change the tails that much at all?
No, most of the time, yeah. If the tail goes, because it's got a stinger hook on it, it's hard to put there's a bit of a technique to do it, and I don't bother with it. If the tail goes, I don't. You can still fish it normally. It's still got the skirt on and everything else.
Okay.
The paddle tail just gives it a bit more bulk. And on the flip side, sometimes I'll swap from that and use a little tiny black spinnerbait with a single willow blade, which is a long, thin, looks like a leaf almost.
Yep.
A long, thin blade, and that's sometimes that turns them on as well.
Okay.
So yeah. But with spinnerbaits, there's a million different colour combinations, and you got 2 or 3 different blades you can change and swap around with. So there's so many different options with a spinnerbait. Like most things, I think with fishing, at the end of the day, is whatever you're confident in throwing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Okay. And with a spinnerblade, if you're chasing cod, you're predominantly throwing at structure. So would you ever just turn around and fish it in the middle of the river like you might a blade?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. There's been quite a few fish that I've just cast in the middle of nowhere, usually to fix up a loop or something in the bait caster. And yeah, there's quite a few times I've just cast in the middle of nowhere and got a fish for no reason other than they were just out there hanging out. And I think that's why live scope's been so productive for everyone, is because they're finding these fish in the middle of nowhere, whereas in the past we've spent 99% of our focus on structure.
Yeah.
And I think people are realising now there's a whole heap of cod just swimming around the middle of nowhere.
Very interesting. All right. I guess in terms of chasing cod, do you feel that the spinnerbait is a good beginner style lure? Is a good place to start?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure. They're cheap. They're easy to use. Like, you can feel, as soon as you start retrieve, you can feel the blade spinning, so you know that it's working. Yeah, and even in my Walla, every couple of years the weed builds up, so you can tell when there's a bit of weed on it and it's not working properly because you're not feeling the vibration anymore of those blades spinning. Yeah, super simple to use, relatively snag proof, and the cod still eat them.
Yeah. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. All right. One more thing with that. Let's run through a rod reel combo that would be suitable to throw that with.
So most of my cod fishing, I'm using a rod rated to a 10 to 20 pound line. I like fast tapers on most of my rods, and I'm throwing. I don't think I've ever thrown spin gear for cod. It's always been bait cast.
Okay, why?
Because most of the cod fishermen throw bait casters, and I wanted to be like most of the cod fishermen.
Wanted to be cool.
Yeah, just trying to be cool, just trying to fit in, mate. Yeah, so bait caster, so 10 to 20 pound rod. I like a little bit more length in the rod, so I try and get a 7-foot rod, so I got a bit more casting distance. And I like the length on the kayak, so I can get the tip of the rod around the front of the kayak if I have to when I'm fighting a decent sized fish.
Yeah.
Fine, using a 6'6" rod, you've got to lean forward to get around the front of the kayak. And if you hook one of the better sized fish, you need to be able to get all the way around your kayak for a bit of rod control. And then I just most of the time I just use 200 size bait cast reels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and usually 40 pound braid on my lighter stuff.
Yeah.
So 40 pound braid, and usually lots of guys go a bit lighter, but I usually use 40 pound leader on the lighter stuff. Yeah, it seems to be that happy medium between not too heavy, not too light. And I've still got a chance if I hook a meter on that spinnerbait, I've still got a pretty good chance of being able to subdue it on the 40 pound leader.
Yeah, perfect. All right, let's move on to lure number 2. If you're off to Mulwala and you want to catch a cod, what's another good choice?
My second one would have to be the doozer, the Jackal doozer. So it's what do you call it? It's like a big vibe.
Yeah, big vibe. Okay.
Yeah. So I think they're 80 mil, 85 mil.
You're right.
But yeah, they're just they just work well at Mulwala. But there is one secret that Chris Burbage told me. I'm not sure I can tell you, but I will. To make these more snag resistant, because obviously it's a sinking lipless crankbait, we replace the hooks because they come with a pretty big treble hook.
Yeah.
So we replace the trebles with, I think they're size 4 trebles, which is the same size as a TN60 hook. Okay. But I upgrade to heavy duty hooks, but I think they're size 4, and that actually makes this lure pretty snag proof.
Okay.
Yet still hooks plenty of fish.
Are they a BKK hook?
I think these are just the owner hooks. I just done a basic, I think they're like the barra hooks, the really heavy duty silver ones.
Yeah.
But it's more the hook size, because I think they must come with I actually don't know what the size. It must be like a size, maybe size 1 or even a 1.0 hook when you first get them off the shelf.
Yeah. So
they're obviously very wide for the lure. So they grab a lot of things when you're dragging them through timber. But yeah, with the smaller size 4 hooks, it makes a massive difference, and they'll actually roll through the timber pretty well. I'll throw the doozer in places where I'd throw the spinnerbait. Okay. And sometimes the doozer will go through better than the spinnerbait.
Wow.
So yeah, I like to use that. It's like I said, I'll use that the same places I throw a spinnerbait. It just gives the fish something else to look at, and that's pretty much the same technique as well, in that I'll cast past the structure, let it sink a little bit, and then it's a slow roll as well.
Yeah.
There's not much to it. You don't have to twitch and pause or anything like that. It's just a slow roll. Yeah, super, super easy, straightforward, simple retrieve.
Okay. All right. And tell us about some of the fish. Like, how long you've been fishing that? Tell us about some of the fish you've caught on it, maybe.
Well, there was one memorable morning that I went out with Clarkie, and we were both throwing the doozers, and I think we both got a meat of fish within half an hour of each other.
Wow.
So yeah, they just. And I've been fishing with. I think I was fishing with Chris Burbage one day, and he hooked up a doozer onto a snag, and was rattling it because they're quite loud.
Yeah.
And he was rattling it, and a cod come up and ripped it off the snag.
Yep.
And sometimes I've actually drilled holes in the doozer and filled them with super glue, so the rattles, so make them a silent one.
Okay.
Just for something a bit different. But yeah, they just seem to work at Mulwala, and it's just something different to a spinnerbait, completely different profile, completely different noise. Yeah, just gives them something different to look at.
Yeah, yeah. And from what I can understand, you're basically fishing structure the same. You're fishing the same sort of structure, more or less.
Yep.
And I'd assume the same thing would apply if you go and throw that in the middle of the river. If there's one out there, you're a chance of getting it.
100%, yeah. If anything, it'll sink much faster than a spinnerbait too. It can cover a bit more water. You can fish them a little bit quicker if you want to as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And what's your favourite colour choice? I know you showed me, but do you know what it is?
I don't know what that colour is. It depends on the day. Like, I'm quite happy just throwing a black one, a white one to change it up, but it all depends. I don't remember what this colour's called, but it's got like chartreuse tips on it and red stripes, and yeah, they're just like, I've got quite a few different colours, and it's just usually it's whatever is easiest to get out of the tackle box.
Okay, yeah.
That's as simple as it boils down to.
You must have enjoyed going from saltwater to freshwater.
You know what? The most enjoyable part was the tying leader knots.
Yeah.
It was so much easier tying an FG and 40-pound leader and 40-pound braid compared to 4-pound.
Yeah. Do you have little bits of timber to pull the knots tight?
No, usually I can get it and the other thing is because the line's so much thicker, it doesn't cut into your skin like the lighter stuff does, so it's a little bit easier to tension. But yeah, that was certainly one benefit from bream fishing is the knots are a lot easier to tie.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I throw lots of vibes and stuff when I'm fishing for bream too, so the doozers was probably a no-brainer for me. But I certainly fish it a lot different cod fishing than when I do bream fishing, because obviously bream fishing there's a lot more hops and pauses, whereas the doozers more of a steady, constant retrieve.
Okay. And based on that, so as a bream fisherman predominantly, you would automatically go and fish the lures the same as you would chasing bream, but you must have evolved.
100%, yeah. And that's, like I said before, that's probably spending that time with Chris Burbage to be able to fast track some of this stuff and watch how he was doing things. And I was like, okay, cool, I can do that too. And then that little tip about changing those hooks from the stock standard ones to those smaller trebles, just because I was throwing my stock standard lure in the same areas that he was, and I was getting snared up every time. Whereas when he actually told me, shared the secret with me, I was able to do the same thing. I was able to drag it through quite heavy timber and structure and not get hooked up.
Are you still throwing that on the same sort of setup with, say, a 40 pound leader?
Like my 3 lures that I've chosen, they're all on that same setup. It's just, yeah, that's what you'd start with. If you're going to get something to start cod fishing, I'd just, a 10 to 20 pound rod, your 200 size bait cast reel, and 40 pound braid, 40 pound leader, and you can't really go wrong.
And I know you did want to be cool and be a bait caster guy, but if somebody's already got their 10 to 20 pound spin reel, I assume that's not going to be a problem.
Not at all. No, it's still exactly the same. I'm assuming you'd probably use a 4,000 reel, maybe slightly bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd stick with the same line classes, I think. Stick with your 40 pound braid. You could probably, spinning gear, you can probably go down to 30 pound if you wanted to braid. I'd still stick with a 40 pound leader just for a bit of abrasion and just that backup, just in case you do hook that metery.
Yeah. And when you go fishing with that, how tight's your drag? You fishing a stiff drag or a light drag? Like, I actually don't know.
I usually fish as stiff a drag as you can, but the 200 reels that I've got, 200 size reels that I've got, don't have huge drags anyway. I think they're only 5 kilo drags, so it's not a lot compared to the line class we're throwing. Sure. But yeah, I try to lock it up as much as I can, just to give much. That's the thing about cod fishing. It's all about just giving yourself that chance, just in case you do hook that big fish, to get a little bit of a head start on it.
That's right. That big unnamed fish as yet.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you've got 5 kilos of drag on your little overhead reel, I assume the fish are breaking through that sometimes and pulling drag when it's
100%. Yeah, for sure. Most of the small ones, no, but some of the 90 metre plus fish definitely pull through that drag. But I also think in the kayak too, they'll drag the kayak around as well, which
it's drag.
Yeah, it's drag as well.
Yeah.
So that certainly makes a difference. You just got to be prepared to put it in reverse or whatever you need to do to get yourself out of trouble.
Yeah, and that was going to be one of my questions. Do you bang it into reverse and really try and get out of there sometimes?
It depends on where I've hooked it too, because, most of the time I'm trying to go as hard as I can, because I don't, like at my whaler, you don't actually, unless you've got your live scope on or whatever, you can't see all the structure around the fish. And so 90% of the time I'm assuming that fish is somewhere near structure, so I need to go as hard as I possibly can to get it away from whatever's there.
Yeah.
Which is what happened to that big fish that I lost twice. It knew that area so well, it just found it just kept finding logs and sticks that I couldn't see at all.
Yeah.
And just got me tangled up in them.
Yeah. And made you unhappy.
Very unhappy.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, let's roll into lure number 3. What's your final choice here?
So I chose for lure number 3 it's a Daiwa crank RPM 10, I think it is. So it's a 10-foot diving crankbait.
Yep.
And same thing, it's just super easy to use. I literally use it the same way as the other two, just cast it out past the structure. And obviously with the crankbait, you're thinking about, you want it to be at the depth that it dives to as it goes past that structure.
Sure.
You don't want to be casting, you don't want to be landing your lure, and say you're fishing the upright tree again. You don't want to be landing your lure next to the tree and then start your retrieve, because you'll be 5, 6, 7 meters away from the tree before that lure gets down to depth.
Yes.
So you want to be casting past the tree or structure, and then with the idea in your mind that when you're bringing it past that bit of structure, that's when the lure's at the right depth that you want it at.
Yeah. Yeah. And I assume that lure is a floating lure.
Yes.
Yeah. So it means that if you say you cast it into some sort of snag, it gets hung up, you can back it off, and half the time it's going to float backwards up out of the snag.
Yeah. Half the time, maybe. Yeah. You know what it's like.
100%. 100%. Okay. So if you do that, say you cast in, get snagged up, and you go, all right, I'll give it some slack, and it starts to float up. Is it like a bream where it might get eaten at that point?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You can get eaten then. It can get eaten while it's still hooked up in the log or the tree, like what happened to Chris with the doozer. Yeah, if the cod are hungry, they'll eat it at any part of that retreat. They might even hit it as soon as it hits the water.
Sure.
Or as you're about to lift it out of the water, which happens a lot when you're just about, there's lots of times there's a big swirl or a splash right beside the kayak as you're lifting your lure out of the water.
It's always funny in any sort of fishing for that to happen, because it always scares.
Every time.
Makes you jump.
Yep.
Yeah. Whether it gets it or not. So.
Yeah, it's addictive. Yeah.
Ah, very good. Okay, so with that 10-foot diving crankbait, you've obviously got your vertical structure to fish it on. Do you parallel cast it to edges sometimes, like the same as we would with a bream, or?
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Sometimes parallel. Yeah, sometimes I'll still cast perpendicular to the bank, straight into the bank, and bring it down, following the contour of the bank.
Yep.
As it comes out. Yeah, look, there's so many different crankbaits on the market. Yeah, that's just the one that I like. I had a couple of really good sessions on it where I got 10, 12 fish in a day just on that one lure, and they didn't seem to be eating anything else. But yeah, it's just an easy lure to use as well.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I like about the crankbaits, if someone's going to fish maybe land-based, they're probably better chance of getting their lures back. I think you can back it off and they'll float up. Whereas if you put the doozer on the bottom and it hooks in, the only thing you've got is either flicking your line or trying to straighten the hooks or pull it out.
Or swimming out and getting it.
Or swimming. Okay, talk to me about that, because that sounds like experience. Okay, guys, just a quick interruption here. Joel and I spent the next few minutes talking about some of the gear and techniques he uses to retrieve expensive lures from heavy timber, along with a few extra tips that we've kept for the extended interview. If you'd like to hear that section along with all of our extended interviews, it's available now to members of the Lure Fishing Project Collective and the Vault. For now, let's jump back into the conversation with Joel. What would be some other bits of kit that you would want to take, like lip grippers, pliers, or what are the sort of must-haves on the kayak?
So I don't use lip grips anymore.
Sure.
Unless anything I use lip grip for is to hold them in the water just to get the hooks out of their mouth so they're safe. But then I'll use a garden glove or a glove, and then I hold them with the glove in the mouth with the glove instead of lip grips, because some of those big fish, when they kick around and stuff like that, the lip grips just destroy their mouths.
Yeah.
So for sustainability of the fish, I like to use. I just use cheap leather garden gloves from Bunnings or wherever. Yeah. And I think I've still got them. They stink, but they work. They're really easy to hold a fish.
Do the cod have much of a mouth for biting down? Do they bite hard on you?
They're not hard, but they got really raspy teeth in their mouth.
Sure.
Almost, they're not as sharp as a flathead, like the flathead teeth in their mouth. But yeah, a big one will rip your hand up pretty badly.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's easier. That's why cod thumb is a thing. But the thing with cod thumb is if you rip your thumb up in the first fish of the weekend, trying to cast a bait caster with a thumb all ripped up, that line catches every little bit of skin that's poking up, and it gets quite painful. So that's why I use a garden glove, because I'm a sook.
Nothing wrong with that, mate.
So, yeah, tackle back, the garden glove. The other thing you use is a tackle back on the chain, the actual on the line for those really deep lures that you can't get to with the pole.
Yeah.
They're certainly very effective and important.
And it's probably better, like in bream fishing, I didn't ever like the tackle backs because you're using 2, 3, 4, 5 pound line. You slide something down it, you're probably wasting your time half the time. So
correct. Whereas, we've got 40 pound leaders. These things, no worries at all. And if you're throwing, like I said, if you're throwing your dry cantrels or some of the lures that the guys are throwing, the big swim baits and stuff that are over $100, you would do whatever you needed to get that lure back.
Yeah.
But they're probably the three main things that you need for cod fishing. I can't really.
Okay.
I do take a net for the smaller fish as well.
Yeah.
Just to subdue them. But most of the time that's about it. The pole is probably the most important bit of kit I take with me.
Okay.
And that's the first thing packed every time.
Okay. And apart from getting lures back, do you use it for pushing off the bank and all that sort of stuff, or?
Sometimes, I still take a paddle with me just in case, because even with kick-up fins, I'm still scared that I'm going to break them somehow. So I still want that backup. And just for manoeuvring too, sometimes you need that paddle just to quickly manoeuvre around something. But most of the time I'm using the paddle for that kind of stuff because I want to save my pole for getting the lures off. I don't want to break it. I don't want to break it launching.
No, you don't want to do that. All right, let's have a talk about a preparation for a trip. Now, when a lot of the bream fishing I do, I've got Saturday and Sunday. That's what I've got. So there's not always a lot of preparation in terms of timing. What about yourself? Do you plan around moon phases, daylight, dawn, dusk? No?
No, when I'm cod fishing, I'll go whenever I'm free.
Yeah.
And we'll fish. I try to get on before daylight, try to get in the water before daylight, and then we'll fish all day. Like in summer, sometimes I'm fishing 16, 17 hours a day in the kayak. Yeah, I think the longest I did was 17 hours in one day in the yak. So when I'm cod fishing, I'll sleep. I can sleep later and I'll catch up on that later on. But when I'm cod fishing, like in the middle of the day, sometimes it slows down a bit, but then other days there'll be a crazy good bite in the middle of the day.
Okay.
And that's the thing with cod fishing, you just don't know when they're going to chew. So you've got to be out there all day. And I've been out there some days for 12, 13, 14 hours and hadn't had a hit. And then the last half an hour, all of a sudden the fish turn on and you catch 6 fish in half an hour. And you're like, why didn't it happen 12 hours ago?
That's it. Should have slept in.
So, when I'm cod fishing, to be fair, that's most of my fishing. If I'm going fishing, I'm going fishing. It doesn't matter what time of the day it is. I'm not planning a trip around moon phases or anything like that. if I'm free, I'm going.
Okay. All right. Then another question, still same sort of thing, is what would be your ideal? When do you think you're probably going to catch one?
Favorite time still first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Just on daylight, just when it's light enough that you can just see what's going on. Because the other thing is it's just a beautiful time to be on the water at that time of the day too.
Yeah.
That's why. But I've caught fish every part of the day and night. So, but I do enjoy that first couple of hours in the morning.
Okay. All right. And another question, a little bit tongue in cheek, is, mate, do you ever get cold when you're cod fishing?
Absolutely. I did a trip with Clark and Chris. We did, what's the big dam in New South Wales that everyone talks about? Copton. We went to Copton Dam. And we spent a week in Copton. I'll tell you that it took me till the last day to land a cod there. But, it was freeze. Like our guides were freezing up, like actually going frozen because it was that cold. So, and then this time of the year is traditionally when you catch the bigger fish. The bigger fish are feeding up before they go into breeding. So this time of the year you don't usually catch as many fish as you would during summer, but the fish that you catch traditionally seem to be a bit bigger. So the diehard cod fishermen are out now fishing right up until the 1st of September when cod season closes in most of the waterways.
Okay. So, and when is it? So 1st of September to?
1st of December.
Okay.
So 3 months, September, October, November, it's closed, except for there's a couple of waterways in Victoria and New South Wales that are open year-round because the scientists have decided that they're not breeding themselves in there, that they're purely stocked fish, so they're not going to affect, if people catch them, they're not going to affect their breeding.
Okay. So that means that for cod fishermen, you can fish year-round.
You can if you want to, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. All right. One thing now, I did ask you to find 3 lures, mate, but you didn't talk about any surface lures. So there must be something that you like.
Look, my favourite surface lure is probably the pompadour.
Okay.
Yeah, the pompies it just seems to produce. Yeah, I've thrown some of the bigger ones. I've thrown some of the medium-sized ones, but the pompey still seems to work really well and gets the most action.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, that's a jackal pompadour with 2 wings out the side. Yep. And what sort of noise does it make?
Like a bloop 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 bloop. But it's got a few rattles, and it makes a weird noise on the water. It's got all kinds of bits and pieces hanging off it. So it's and that's the thing with cod lures. It's all about the noise. Like the louder the better for cod fishing. They seem to get angry. The louder it is, the angrier they get. Yeah, there's some pretty weird and wonderful surface lures for cod. That's for sure.
Fair enough. And with the surface lures, talk to me about fishing those at night when you can't see.
That's the best. I love it. Even like I said to you earlier, even when you're expecting the boof, it still scares the crap out of you every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at night, even like I described when I was pedaling over to Clark and the cod come up and hit it right beside the yak, that was in daylight. And at night, I've had quite a few come up and smash it as I'm just about to lift the lure out of the water, and every single time.
Yeah.
I put my pants every single time.
And I guess if you're fishing with your mate, he knows you got a hit too.
100%. That's it. Then you can't hide it. Like everyone knows. And like I said, that morning that Chris got that hit that sounded like someone threw a fridge in the water, like that was ridiculous.
But he didn't hook up. How does that happen? Like,
I don't know. They're very good at missing the lure sometimes.
Very good. All right. Another question, like in terms of finding fish, what's your sort of favorite structure? What looks really good to you? I think you said Mulwala, it all looks good, but what's your ideal piece of structure? Yeah,
like at Mulwala, if like the first time I got there, I was like, should I start right where I am? Because it looks good. The perfect bit, I enjoy finding a really big laydown. That's my favourite bit of structure. If I can find a big laydown that I'm sitting in like 1.2 meters of water and I can just see the top of the tree, then I know it's a big laydown. Then I know there's a good chance there could be a big fish on it. And the good thing about a big laydown too is there could be 12, 15 casts you can make to that structure with all the different limbs and stuff hanging off it that you could make that potentially has fish on it.
Yeah.
So, when you're casting an upright tree, you've only got 2 or 3 casts and you've covered the whole tree. Whereas that laydown, there's a good chunk of area you can fish around it that potentially has fish. So I think that's why I like it, because there's so many opportunities to fish it, that one piece of structure.
Yeah, okay. And do the fish, like if you're doing, say you did say 15 casts, do the fish spook as you're moving around in the kayak? Do you feel it makes a difference to them? Like,
I don't think they spook with the kayak, no.
Yeah.
No, not unless you physically hit them or something like that. But yeah, like I said, you can get a hit and then cast back in there. Sometimes it takes 4 or 5 casts before you get another hit.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get sometimes you get a hit next cast, but quite often they'll keep coming back. And usually the only way they spook is if you actually load up on them before they throw the hooks. Yeah. But if they don't feel hooks, they'll keep coming back.
Yeah. Well.
And given that fish hit the lure right beside the kayak as I was pedaling, I don't think the kayak worries them at all.
No, it's quite amazing, really. Given it that lure was swimming alongside a tree that was floating down the water with pedals underneath it.
Exactly, moving. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So there you go. All right, let's run through a couple of your biggest lessons, mate. What's the biggest mistake you made when you were learning cod fishing? If you went again, what would you not do, or what would you do more of?
I would have learned how to cast a bait caster.
Yep. Okay.
That was a big crash course that weekend. Yeah, for sure. I'd be getting out in the backyard and casting for multiple hours before I went next time. That was probably the biggest lesson. And the rest of the stuff is just learning on the water. I don't think there's not too many mistakes you can really make. It's more learning along the way.
Yeah. What's something you now know that would have helped you catch cod much faster?
Oh, I suspect live scope might have helped.
Yeah, fair enough.
I still don't have it. That's purely just for cost. I look at the cost of it and I'm like, that I can buy a lot of rods and reels and lures for that amount of money. So I suspect that 100% live scope back when I was learning would have been amazing. It just to even learn the fish's behaviour.
Yeah, and know you're casting at one.
Yeah, for sure. It would have been cool. And to see all the ones that we pedal past or whatever, it would have been very cool. So yeah, I reckon that would have fast-tracked me a fair bit.
Yeah. Okay, maybe controversial. What's the one thing that most cod anglers get wrong, or maybe a myth that you didn't find to be true?
Well, they don't. Oh, I don't know about that. The thing with cod fishermen is they're pretty secretive, so you don't actually get a lot of information out of them. So I guess that doesn't really give them a chance to be wrong because there is not a lot of information there.
Fair enough. All right, we got a couple more things. Let's do a quick fire round. Favorite cod fishery?
Mulwala. Love Mulwala.
Beautiful. Biggest cod?
120 plus.
And where was that?
Mulwala.
Mulwala. Okay, cool.
I had 120 plus. I was by myself, and it's pretty hard to put a brag mat out in the kayak when you're by yourself.
100%. I
have pictures of it, but I don't. Yeah,
you don't have.
I didn't get the measurement.
Yeah, fair enough. I take it you're fishing somewhere where you've got steep banks and you couldn't do anything with it.
I was in the middle of the lake, so I had nowhere to go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. All right. Dream cod destination.
Oh, I think I fished most of the places for cod. I fished Copeton, Mulwala, Eildon. There's a place now in Western Victoria called Rocklands that they're trying to make the next Eildon. Okay. So the fisheries are spending a lot of time putting fish in there and building it up. And I've fished over there as well. And that's a really cool fishery over there. You can camp right on the water. And yeah, it's and it's got, Rocklands is amazing because it has cod, yellow belly. It's got bass in there as well.
Okay.
And redfin. And I think there might even be still a few stray trout in there. So it's amazing. It's got so many different options in the one place.
Yeah,
so
okay. Yeah,
it's not so much a dream fishery, but I can't wait to get back there again because it's such a cool little place to fish.
Yeah, very good. Favorite cod lure of all time? Just one.
There have to be that white and chartreuse spinnerbait.
Okay.
Like I said, it's caught multiple meteries. It's caught a heap of fish. Yeah, it's cheap and it works.
Very good. And that was the Bassman 1/8.
Bassman 5/8 ounce spinnerbait with the double Colorado blades.
Okay, so people will be able to look that up. Surface or subsurface?
Oh, if it's about catching numbers of fish, it's subsurface. But if it's just about going out and having fun and getting the bejesus scared out of you, then surface every day of the week.
I think it's surface then.
Yep. If it was comp fishing, then 100% I'd be subsurface. But no, it'd be surface every day. It's so cool, and surface in the middle of the night.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, one cod tip for a beginner.
A bit like bream fishing. Slow down.
Okay.
Yeah, go slow. Like even to the point where I've noticed that fishing beside Clark and Chris and stuff like that, some days I'd have a really good day, and then at the end of the day you'd check and you go, I'd be using one of the bait cast reels that was a 5-to-1 ratio, and they were using a 7-to-1 ratio reel. Okay. And we think that may have been the case, that it's just that slowing down that little bit more without even realising. Yeah, sometimes that gets the bites.
Yeah. With you fishing with Clarkie and Burbs, like as an ex-competition fisherman and then going out, I guess, socially fishing for cod, I assume you guys are sharing and sharing stuff and trying to work out what's going on.
For sure. Yeah, and that was the best thing. I had Clark was learning. Clark actually started the same time I did, so we both learned at the same time. But then we had Chris as the expert to be able to get information from him. So me and Clark could work things out together, and then you'd refer to him for more complicated stuff. So 100% we learn along the way, and quite a few times it'd be someone using a a slower retrieve reel that was catching more fish on that day. But yeah, for the 9 times out of 10, you get same as bream. Slower the better.
Yeah, yeah, and to be able to spend some time with Chris, who was in the bream scene, was an absolute champion over many years.
Absolutely, he's a gun of everything. He's such a well-rounded fisherman, and he's also got years and years of experience as well.
Yeah,
but I was incredibly lucky to be able to lean on him for info.
Yeah, very good. All right, mate. I think we're going to start to bring this to a close. What's next for you, mate? What's your fishing over the next couple of months going to look like?
I'm back in the bream scene, so I've got Lake Macquarie coming up, the Hobie round at Lake Macquarie next month.
Yep.
I'm going to go up to the Gold Coast as well.
Okay.
And then I'll do Cooter at the end of the year. I've got, I think before the Georges River round, I think I was third in ALY. So I thought, you know what, I'll give myself a bit of a chance to give that another shake.
Give it a bit of a shake up.
See if I can get Joey a bit nervous. And now Simon, obviously, because he's done quite well. So I don't know where I'm going to end up now in ALY after this weekend, but I've given myself 3 more chances to have a couple more top 10 finishes and hopefully push up to the pointy end again.
Yeah.
And I think probably in December, I think we might try and get you down for a codfish.
Yeah. It's in planning stages at the moment, but yeah.
And even if it's not that weekend, we can always find another weekend that we can bring you down, maybe a few others along the way, maybe a Mexican friend.
Maybe
because he seemed pretty excited about it too. So
yeah, you can bring the tequila.
Yeah, I'm not I don't like tequila, but that's all right.
Fair enough. There's other things you do like.
Exactly. So yeah, that's a bit of bream fishing, and then I think I don't think I'm going to have time to do a late season cod expedition. I think we'll wait till open season again in December, and yeah.
Yeah, okay. And look, I did think of something while you were talking there. So as a really well accomplished bream angler, were there some things that you took over to cod fishing that really helped?
If anything, it was probably the other way around. I actually brought stuff back from the cod fishing when I came back a couple of years ago, because I think cod fishing taught me a whole lot more patience.
Okay.
Because going out and fishing for 12 hours and not even getting a hit can be quite demoralising. But then 10 minutes after that 12 hours has ticked over, all of a sudden the fish come on again. Mm-hmm. And I think I brought that back to the bream fishing for me, because I certainly, when I came back from the cod fishing, I certainly had a little bit of success.
Yeah, you came back.
When I came back to the bream scene. Yeah, so I think that patience was really key. Okay. And just being able to, just learning how to grind it out.
Yeah.
Because I suspect before that, I was pretty impatient with my bream fishing. But yeah, after 5 or 6 years of just seriously cod fishing, it's certainly, I think it benefited. I think it went both ways, obviously, but it benefited just that. I don't think there's any one thing that you can put your finger on as to what made a difference, but I think it's just that general knowledge of everything as far as your bream fishing goes, bringing it over to cod fishing, then bringing it back. I think it just helps.
I think so. And look, some of the things that beginners wouldn't necessarily do, like you fished a lot of structure and stuff doing bream, you fished in the kayak, so all the managing of the kayak and how to approach a snag, all of that stuff probably would have been pretty intuitive for you because you've done it in a different way.
Absolutely. And then even breaking down like Mowal is a big lake, and even just breaking it down and seeing that different areas seem to have more fish. Just like when I go to Bem River, I know that there's certain areas that, although it doesn't look any different to the rest of the lake, I know that those certain areas have fish. I was able to do that at Mowal as well, where I could go, okay, if I fish this area, I know I've got a pretty good chance of catching a fish because I caught fish here before and stuff like that. So I think that probably helped.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, very good. Very good. All right, mate. What I want to do is just thank you for jumping on and sharing your cod story. I'm definitely keen to jump on and catch one, and hopefully catch one bigger than yours. And I think that'd be pretty cool. It's something I've been looking at for a while. I think maybe 2026 is the year to at least give it a crack.
I like it.
And I'll be off to get my Bassman spinnerbait and
to be fair, I reckon I've got a few spares you could probably borrow anyway.
Have you? I'll take you up on that. I might take you up on that. I'll tell you a secret. I actually bought I don't know what class it is, but I bought a baitcaster Daiwa rod reel combo. I reckon it was 7 years ago to throw swim baits at a flathead. And yeah, it's all rigged up, ready to go. So
you're ready.
It's not been wet yet.
I like it.
So I think that'd be a good start.
But the best thing about cod fishing is you don't have to wash your gear at the end of the day because you're in fresh water.
It's already been washed.
Yeah, it's so good. That's the other benefit. You don't have to wash anything down at the end of the day because you've been fishing fresh water all day.
Yeah.
So you're ahead of brim fishing straight away.
100%. That is one of the things the salt does hurt everything.
Yep.
Very good. Very good. Like I said, mate, look, thank you so much for jumping on. Mate, we're going to leave this with another, I think you got another fish story for us.
Probably my favourite cod fishing story is once again I was out in the kayaks with Clark and Chris, and it was, from memory, it was a miserable day. It was overcast and there might have even been some drizzly rain and it was freezing cold, and we were out in the middle of the lake at Mulwala, and myself and Clark just happened to come up onto this big stump like 2.5 meters across sort of stump, and he was on one side of the stump and I was directly opposite him, and we both cast at the stump at the same time. He cast to one side, I cast to the other, both at the same time, and I hooked a 110 from the same cast.
Yeah,
which was so awesome. Because even though we're fishing socially, it's always a competition.
It is, and we do love Kayak, but what did you say to him? Did you tell him that you caught a good one?
I reminded him, yes. And Clark's thing is he's always very lucky. When he hooks big cod, they usually seem to swim out quite easily for him. So that day it was my turn that I hooked a big cod and he swam straight out to me. So yeah, I just like to remind him of that every now and then when I see him, that remember that day when we both cast at the stump at the same time and it ate my lure and not yours.
Yeah, I know. We'll be sure to share this with him directly.
Yeah, it's good times.
Very good, mate. All right, look, thank you for jumping on. And, mate, I hope to catch up with you around hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Will do, mate. My pleasure.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Joel. If you're thinking about giving Murray cod fishing a go, then hopefully that's given you a solid starting point and the confidence to get out there and maybe catch your first one. A huge thanks to Joel for jumping on and taking the time to share his knowledge and experience. I really appreciate him taking the time to do that. If you like to hear more conversations like this, including the extended interviews and the exclusive content, you can join the collective or the vault. You'll find details in the show notes. Thanks so much for listening, and I will talk to you in the next episode of the Lure Fishing Project.
Thanks for listening to the Lure Fishing Project. For extra episodes, the Big Bream series and more, join us at the Lure Fishing Project Collective. We'll catch you next time.